All right. Here we are, the Save Game Podcast, episode 7. Sorry to cut you off there, nytxsaber. We have our some of our usual hosts with us. Warrior of Light and nytxsaber are with us. And tonight we are joined by Steve, or Reckless Pancake, as he goes by online. He's a dev from, and now that it's so small on my screen that I can't see it. So why don't you tell us where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from Ohio, United States.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, welcome in. So if anybody hasn't heard the show before or watched the show before, we like to chat about gaming news. We like to chat about the intersection of gaming and our faith. So how do we react and how do we interact with games out there in the world, whether they be created by Christians or have Christian themes or faith themes, or whether they're just secular games like Fortnite or whatever, right? So we'd like to chat about that sort of stuff, and we like to feature games and feature developers that are Christians that are working in the space. So we've brought our friend on, and we met at the Reach Conference. How did you enjoy Reach Conference?
I really enjoyed it. I think it's really critical for developers to make those connections with content creators. I find it really helpful on a feedback level because, I mean, we need feedback from gamers. I think there's something special about content creators because content creators, I think it can be more likely that they play a wider variety, and not all do. I'm sure some are more specialized, but some play, at least one I can think of right now, plays a huge number of them. So it's really helpful to kind of get that almost meta feedback. And then a big part also is hopefully it's almost like a two-way street of like, streamers, if they are looking for new games, we as developers can provide those games to play, and then we get exposure. And it's so hard to get exposure as a developer. So
Right.
ReachConf, I think, was a wonderful opportunity to make connections, and the fact that it is a Christian conference that was a huge deal. Really grateful for it.
Yeah, I agree. That this was my second year going. I don't know about nytxsaber. I think it was your first. Warrior. Did you go last year?
No,
So this was your first one too. So how did you guys enjoy it? We should dive into that for a second because it's our first podcast since the conference. So
yeah, I can go first if that's fine with you guys. I'll be honest, it was I knew nothing about it. This was like back in May, it was like my first time hearing about it. And I was like, okay, well, this conference must be pretty big if they're talking about it in May and it's in November. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just kind of figure things out and see how it goes from there. And I was looking through the website. I was like, wow, this really doesn't tell me what I'm getting into for much of what's going on. And it sounds like it's a thing for content creators. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of me, but not really. But then you get there and it's so much more than just what you expect. Like you have your like solidifying relationships that you've built over a handful of years, or if you've never been, or if this was your second time going, like new friendships over the course of that year that you've made. And there's so much to do for everyone. That's why when people have been asking me as of late, like, how would I explain a Reach conference? I would say is a gaming convention by Christians for everyone. Because that's honestly what it is. I mean, there's stuff there that you don't have to be a Christian to be a part of it. Like you don't have to believe the same things that we do to be there and have a good time. I mean, because on the surface level, a lot of us enjoy the same things, regardless of our personal beliefs and opinions on things. So having that area just to be able to do that, and again, like I said, get to meet these people that you've known for so long, and then meet new people and build not only like strengthen existing relationships but create new ones.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and unless something like catastrophic happens, I will be going back to Reach like every single year.
Very cool. Yeah. I like what you said about it being a conference put on by Christians. for anybody, because like you kind of get out of it whatever you wanted to get out of it. If you wanted to go there and just sit in the LAN center the whole weekend, you could go and just sit in the LAN center the whole weekend. You could play in all the 7 Admirals tournaments. You could check out all sorts of things and eat the food and everything. And then over in the other building, there was all these talks going on from Christians who are immersed in creative industry or business and things like that, giving talks and giving tips. And then there's the networking side of connecting with other believers and stuff like that. And so you could really kind of get out of it whatever you wanted to get out of it, depending on your personal beliefs and your stance when you get there. How about you, Warrior?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the first one I've gone to, and it was kind of, do I want to go? Well, yeah, I want to go because obviously when Romans and I talked and, he did that special thing for Blessing Boat where it was all Fortnite for that whole event.
Yeah.
It was just different. I'm like, I have to be there. I mean, it was just no brainer. So, I wasn't expecting my wife, my son, my brother-in-law, my sister, my mother and father-in-law to come, but they came for another reason, not necessarily for the conference, but I brought my son in on the last day, which was Saturday, and he was just blown away. I mean, he was blown away that Caton Glass was there and that, he was talking about his favorite anime and, all these things. And, the band was phenomenal, or the orchestra was phenomenal, the 8-bit orchestra, and I think for me, it was just getting to get together with real people that we know, but we don't get a chance to talk and hug and, get to know each other even better. So it was great to meet Mother Goose and Christian Ninja and Jade and, all the people that we watch all the time. Even the organizer, with Aki, so it was kind of cool just to be able to, and, meeting you in person too. Reckless Pancake, I didn't know, but we got to know because he sat down at our dinner table with my son, started talking to him, and then we got into conversation afterwards. So it was just a really cool way to spend time. It was a long day, at least for me, because I was an hour away. So I had to drive an hour earlier and get back an hour later, but it was definitely worth the time. And like you said, there's so many activities, so many things you can get involved with. Some things I missed because I was doing something else, but I did do the cosplay thing. I was too chicken for the first 2 ones that I had, but the third one I went up there and I did the certain pose and said the certain things because I was Gilligan's or I was Skipper.
Skipper, yeah.
But the first 2, the first 2, I think I was, what's the guy from Love Boat? I can't remember that. You guys might be too young to even know what that is.
I watched tons of Gilligan's Island. I've never watched The Love Boat.
Yep.
Never seen an episode.
What's really
Love Boat
funny
was there.
is, despite my age, I also grew up watching a ton of Gilligan's Island. I had the DVDs.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun, and then I also Captain Jack Sparrow too, so I had a kind of a mix. But I've never done cosplay before, so it was just a total new experience. And of course, then you see Flat Cap Dapper Pastor as the Witcher, and I'm like, and all these other characters. I'm like, oh, you're really into it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So they're gonna bring it back, because it was so much fun, and it is family friendly, which is good. It's Christian based. But yeah, I think you can invite people who are not Christian because then they can see, and obviously 4 people accepted Christ because of the worship thing. So that was cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
Anyways.
Yeah. I'm glad to get you guys chatting about that because it's been it's so interesting to go and then to come home from something like that was so amazing, and you have that kind of like, okay, now I'm back in my normal world. What do I do? Who can I talk to about this? And like share it with people. So it's nice to chat about it again. But let's dive in and chat with Steve about his game or games. If you have other stuff you're working on, we'd love to hear about that maybe too. But we saw a robot with a ram cannon at the conference, and I downloaded it and gave it a try, and it's just fun chaos. from what I could get from it so far. I'm sure once you get the hang of it, it might seem a little bit less like that. Maybe. No. Yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. But before we jump in there, I just wanted to ask like a couple of icebreaker questions. Like, what's your favorite game of all time?
It's a great question. That's a tricky one. I'll just say a couple that I would consider as like classics and just incredibly well done. Star Fox 64, I would
Okay.
say, is one of my all-time favorites. I think it just really nailed a sense of flow, pacing, action, and just forward movement in a way that felt really good, really good. I think it also did a really good job with character designs and just having, those NPCs along with you for the ride that are just they're very different in their personalities, and I think it does well with that. I would say another one that's really well done would be Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Just the sense of speed, the chaos, the it's an amazing mixture of action that feels incredibly well done. I personally like I'm very big into like the finer details of like action mechanics, and I feel like that game just did that really well.
Yeah. Yeah, Smash Bros. For sure is it, and like to think that it came out of like Nintendo back in the day, and it was just this like it felt so weird at the time, and now there's tournaments, and it's just such a huge worldwide phenomenon. And I think thinking of your comment about Star Fox, I think it's things were so limited on the Super Nintendo when they did the first one. They must have just been so happy to have a more powerful machine to really be able to nail the gameplay and then be able to focus on some of the more creative stuff. And playing a game where you have like NPCs that are there with you and chatting, and they have like Final Fantasy 15 is a game that I really love because you have the different friends that are with you on the journey, and they just randomly chatter with each other and with you as you go along, and it just makes the game like so much more enjoyable to me because it feels more alive. It feels like there's something going on while you're playing. So I can see why you would like that in Star Fox too. Warrior or Nightsaber, do you guys have do you want to ask any questions? I can keep going down the list here, but I'd love to share the stage.
So
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Warrior. You go.
No. What I was saying, I mean, obviously, Reckless gave me the demo too, and I got kind of addicted to it. It was, again, that unexpected part of, a robot using a ram thing to get his enemies was really cool. I gave him some ideas, gave him some feedback. I got to level 4 actually, and then I couldn't get any further. Because it was difficult. But it is kind of one of those games that you're like, it's such a surprise type of thing that I think that's what I like about it the most. I guess the question that I have for Steve, and I don't want to take your thunder if you're going to ask this, Born Again, but was this is your first game that you've developed, or you've been in a process of developing games? Because when I went to Christian Gaming Development Conference, not this year, but in previous years, especially when we had it online when COVID, one of the biggest things that I learned is that gamers don't always make games right away that are hits. I mean, it takes years and years and many different iterations of a game. But by you, going to your audience, going to your players, going to your gamers and asking them like you do, I think it actually improves it. But I'm just kind of curious, if this is the first game that you tried.
Yeah, no, it is definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, I think there might be kind of like this, I don't know, maybe there's this dream scenario of, a game developer where, a game developer's first game ever made, launches and is, a smash hit and, does all these kinds of things. I have heard, I can think of like maybe one instance off the top of my head where that has happened, but I do not believe that is something that's common. Um, and to be clear, by no means, I'm not saying that that's what my project is right now. Not by any stretch. I mean, God willing, of course, I would love for it to be successful. But as far as for the pathway here, no. I've done. I would say there's been, I don't even know how many, like a number of projects I did that were just prototypes, tech demos, just messing around and seeing what kinds of things I could do. But as far as finished games, this would be probably like number four. Um, the more recent ones that I did finish, significantly smaller in scope, but I think that's a wise way to go through the game development process is by tackling very small projects and then gradually expanding your scope um, as you go. I think that is another benefit. You know, you brought coming to gamers and and I think you mentioned like the conference. I think getting that feedback from people, I think it's really helpful to get that early and kind of that validated. Yeah, that's. I mean, I that was one aspect that I certainly enjoyed about the conference. I mean, there was a lot to enjoy about that conference. Like, I was, just when you were talking, you're starting to mention something I know. When you're starting to mention that he, did a cosplay before I even heard what it was, that made me smile. Like, just the way there's so many, things going on there. But yeah, I think it's important to gradually step your way up. Frankly, I didn't step up as much as I thought. I thought this project was going to be which now I laugh maniacally at myself for ever thinking something like that. We're at like, depending on how you count it now, I mean, you could count it as like 11. Well, actually, I guess you could say something like 9-ish months now. But long answer. That's a long answer. Short answer. No, I've worked on other projects before this.
And I think you learn more from when your project has things that don't go perfectly, right? If you create one project and it takes off and it goes perfectly, it's like, well, now where do I go from here? Like, how do you replicate, that a second time in a row? Whereas if you have some failures or you have some setbacks or you have some things where you go, oh, maybe next time I do this a little bit differently, then you kind of iterate and you learn, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the reality is, like, the first time you try things, they may or may not work the way you think they will. Chances are they probably won't. I mean, even with other work and projects that I've worked on, to where I thought I was like, oh well, for this project, it's I already, I have experience before with making somewhat interactive physics systems. So I mean, this is just it's not that much different, but um, then when you start to grapple with, oh, this project is the first time I'm tackling, well, see, again, technically, I guess second time I'm tackling a procedurally generated area. But the time when I did it before was a lot simpler. It was basically a physics simulation of just simulating a bunch of stuff in a junkyard and it just kind of falling into place. Well, it gets a lot more complicated when you're trying to do a grid layout, which is what Robot with a Ram Cannon has. I mean, just that alone probably has taken me now a total of like 2 weeks just by itself. That was when I was doing it like mostly full time. It's just then when you take that and then the idea of like power ups, which is still something that I need to incorporate, and controller support, and then even something I'm learning with this too is just like how important it is to create code that's really manageable, as far as like it's cleanly created and easy to work with, which is not something I did very well with this project. I think I did decent with that in some ways, and in other ways, really not so much. And it really is a challenge when you have to go back and you've created a system that isn't really created a great way, but it works. But then you move on, and then other systems are relying on this system. Like, you build other systems on top of that. So then when you go back and you revise it because this system is causing issues other places, and then those other systems that are connected to that now are having issues, it's been a big learning experience. I'll just say I'm really grateful that I love learning and figuring things out.
Yeah. I feel your pain with the coding. I spent 6 years working in a warehousing company, helping to program their warehouse management system. And yeah, you take one thing out, and then it's like, oh, now we're sorting all these things by the wrong date and stuff like that. It's just everything goes bonkers, right? But yeah, very cool, very cool. Nightsaber, it sounded like you had a question there earlier too. If you want to jump in.
Yeah, because of Reach and just the fact that I've been able to have so many cool conversations with other developers, and been able to hear like a lot of their like backstory and like what prompted them to drive games, I realized the one person that I talked to the most at Reach, I never really understood, and got to ask you like, what has been your drive to create games, and like, is it somewhere under around the realm of like you kind of designed the game that in your mind is like the perfect game that you would enjoy, or like for others? Like, I'm just curious as to like what gives you that drive to create games.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say my drive to create games, I would say I would say it's kind of been a progression of a drive to create and kind of creating things that are an intersection between art and technology. I would say my drive for that started doing video production. Um, I would say a big point was when I was around 14, my parents got me a basic filmmaker kit where you could do stop motion animation with Legos and then you could see the move. And that was just, I mean, it was just jaw dropping for me as a kid realizing, like, wait, I can make these figures move. Oh my goodness, this is incredible. And then I wanted to learn more. I'm like, well, how do I add special effects? Because the software didn't have it. And then I started learning that you can actually take videos and split them into their individual frames. And then I started learning that you can like paint on top of the frames and create special effects. And then I started learning about software where you can automate that by actually putting a whole clip in and, like getting it and, learning how to do special effects through that. So it's been a progression. I've also tried web design. But I would say out of the creative things that I've tried, or experienced, I guess I should say, um, I think I enjoy game development the most. There's something about the way it combines a lot of logic with, when you're creating logic systems with the coding combined with the creative aspect. It's kind of tying into the art of motion. That's what I call like video and games and I guess, other medium that involve things moving in them. So I would say I guess on the creative side, or I guess in that way, that's where it kind of has caused that drive. And to your specific question about like, well, is it for creating a dream game? Actually, at this point, no. Because if I tried creating a dream game, a dream scope scale game now, the reality is it probably just wouldn't get finished because it would just be too complicated. Um, I think it's important. I heard this actually from a course that I took. It's good to fall in love with the process. I think it's from a course called FGGS, Finishing Great or Good Games That Sell. It's one of those two. And one quote I heard, I think from there was, fall in love with the process of making games, not necessarily a dream game. So I really enjoy that process and hopefully gradually expanding those. But I would say the other aspect of my drive for creating games, which kind of goes into my drive for creating, and really just a part of I think just a drive for creating. I want to use the gifts and abilities that God has given me to bring glory to His kingdom, and I also have an entrepreneurial drive. So my hope, my something I really want to do is to use game design and develop games that, God willing, they become really popular and successful. And if that happens, then I can then send money and resources to, churches, organizations that are working on spreading the word of God or doing other purposes like that. So I think that is a really important drive for me. And game development actually is out of the arts field.
Mhm.
I think it actually, in my opinion, it actually may be one of the most possible to actually earn income from. Relatively speaking, it's still hard to do, but
Right.
it can. So, yeah. So I guess that's kind of the multiple sides involved in the drive to create.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, that goes along actually with what Caitlin talked about. She had us kind of repeat after her. What do you call that? Like I don't know. I'm not going to get the word right, but she said like, I was created by God to create. I will create and use my creativity for God to spread the gospel. And along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but I've heard that so many times over the years on different podcasts and different things and stuff like that. And it just always kind of reinvigorates me, because that's kind of what we're doing here. We're not creating a game, but we're creating content around the games and trying to create stuff that people will enjoy and stuff like that. And it's, yeah, just keeping in mind that it's for God, right? And that he is a creative being. He is the creator, and we're created in his image. And so when we're created in his image, we're going to naturally want to create as well, I think, right? I didn't see Nightsaber's message. One sec here. Let's see if I can pull that up.
That's my wife.
Oh, it's about to die. Okay. So yeah, let me jump into a next question here then, so we can keep things flowing. When did you start? I guess you could say one or the other, but when did you start gaming, or when did you start creating? Like you did mention the camera, but when do you think was like your first gaming experience?
Ooh, yeah. I would say the first exposure to it was when I was teaching middle school tech camps, and there was that was one of the courses. Actually, I think there were a couple that were in game development. Um, so I had some exposure to it. It was more, student led. But then when I started actually creating games myself, more so from then, was I would say around, that would have been like probably around like 2014, 2015, 2013, 14, 15, somewhere there. Probably actually 2013, 14, I would say, was when I started, doing, was when I started creating. But then I would say probably 2015, around then, was when I started getting more into it, and I started realizing, like, wait, I really like this. Like, I really like creating, and this art medium, this art and technology medium, combined together. Like, wow, you can really do amazing things with this. Like, I've kind of realized, like, it's like getting to engineer or create a little reality, and then writing the rules for how it works. So I think that's something about it that that's really drawn me to it as a medium.
Yeah. Very cool. Did we? Go ahead.
I got another question real quick. Yeah. What kind of background did you go to school for? Was this because you wanted to become a game developer, or did you get into this just because you had a passion for it and it wasn't part of your education, if you will?
Yeah, no, I didn't go to school for this. I mean, I had one programming logic course in college just because it interested me. And I had a couple web design courses, like I had one in high school, and then I think one in college. But my main degree, like, I went to a community college for the first 2 years, and then another college for the second two. I was focusing on media communication, which that was their major. At that time, I was really interested in video and film production, hence what had started earlier than that. But no, I think it was through work that I started really developing. That was when I got the exposure and started really getting interested in game development. Yeah, first being that the first job, and then my second job also. Second job was in education, and I was teaching game design as one of the courses then. So yeah, actually, I think to correct my previous statement, I think it would have been 20. I think it was 2013 that I was that's when I was starting to create. Not on a major level, but I would say more like then probably 2015 or 2016 was when it started getting more serious.
Cool. I know we've kind of skirted the subject a little bit. We've gone around and mentioned it, but I wondered if you wanted to give us like maybe a deeper rundown of Robot with a Ram Cannon, where the idea came from, the mechanics, what's the highest score you've gotten yourself, so that people can aim to beat it.
Challenge it.
Yeah.
Don't have a score yet, but
Oh.
that's kind of make me think maybe not even a bad idea for at this point. So yes, so robot with a ram cannon. Okay, so the basic mechanics of it is twin stick shooter, but instead of shooting, it's heavily physics and force focused. So it's like top down shooter, but instead of shooting things, the focus is on ramming, punching things. So you can directly attack enemies, you can punch enemies themselves, you can punch them into walls, you can punch enemies into other enemies, you can punch obstacles into enemies. I would say a core theme behind it is making pretty much everything a physics and interactive object and being able to use the environment as a weapon. So like, you can punch the crates into enemies. And then there's also a feature where like you can punch a crate or an obstacle or an enemy. If you punch them into a spike wall, firstly, that does a good deal of damage, but it'll also knock the spikes free. And then you can punch those and use them as a weapon. The original idea when I was, trying to figure out, what to create with that. When I was praying about it, I think the Lord gave me a sense of, as I was praying, of, shoot or slam, as I was, just praying and seeking out, what I should create. So that was how it started. It started out really equal focus between ramming and shooting. And the demo right now is like that. It has both ramming and shooting. I am seriously considering, though, moving more towards focusing more heavily on the ramming and less so on the shooting. But I feel like, as far as another bit of inspiration for that, I feel like in the action space and in specifically in like top-down shooters, there seems to be a lack of physics-based action in that genre. Like I see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of top-down shooters, but I guess I have this sense like people seem to really enjoy physics-based interactions in games. Like that's something like from trying to see what did in that's something that I've kind of noticed. But I just feel like I just don't know if I've really played a top-down shooter that really gave me a feeling, or a top-down action game, if you want to be more broad because it's more melee focused. I just don't know if I've played a game like that that really gave me a feeling of being able to just punch something really hard or ram something really hard and just make it go flying, and just that direct interaction. I feel like when games satisfy that that direct interaction, there's something satisfying
Visceral,
about it.
almost.
Yeah,
Not a good word.
So that's something that I think that's something that I'm trying to achieve in Robot with Ram Cannon, is that direct physics-based action kind of feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very
Now,
cool.
when you say twin sticks, does that mean it's going to have controller support at some point?
I think it
That is
does.
Does it?
It does not have it yet.
Oh,
but-
okay.
I was gonna say,
I
'cause
thought
I'm
when I played it the
playing
other day, I
mouse
used I thought I used my controller, but I play so many games, it's hard to keep track.
My goodness, if you plugged in a controller and it just worked, I would love to know what you are using that just do all the right key binds to do.
I'll get back to you because
He's just
maybe
like, "Word again, you're
Windows
hired."
maybe Windows
Yeah,
figured it out or something. Well, speaking of ideas, when you mentioned like maybe you were thinking about taking the shooting out, I almost was wondering if somehow shooting could be not something you can switch back and forth between like you can now freely, but almost like a punishment. Like now you can't ram for 10 seconds or something like that. You can only shoot, or I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I know with the shooting, man, I did that too, and I don't like shooting because it doesn't give them damage. You have to continually shoot just to get somebody
Yeah.
down, and I was like, no, I like this ram thing a lot better. And I didn't realize that you had to charge it, and you can actually keep it, or you can push it the button longer, and it charges faster or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Or not faster, not faster. But when you press it, it like doesn't it like build up more power? It feels like it is.
Oh, okay. When you were saying, yeah, you just hold it to charge it up, and in my mind, I'm like, wait, that feature is. I was like, my
Is it my
goodness,
game? Did I do that?
brought up that happens. I'm like, what? I mean, hey, if that happened, that could be an awesome bug that became a feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Robot
no,
with a
just
ram can is going to be significantly different after this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no. I'm just like messing with you, but okay, no, it doesn't. At least it should. If you press and hold, it should just make it automatically keep firing as soon as it finishes retracting.
Okay.
But as
Yeah,
far
I
as
played
shooting
it like
goes,
last week.
okay, yeah. So it shouldn't. I mean, hey, if you play it and you find it's doing that, I would be incredibly curious to know how and what that's doing, because that'd be very interesting. But no, one thing I am considering with shooting is possibly making it like shooting is a rare thing, like you're saying, like it's a rare thing, but considering making it kind of the opposite, like it's actually a very high powered thing, but it's something that you only get to use for a very short time, like maybe a
Yeah.
pickup on a map or something.
Yeah, that could be cool. Our chat's hilarious. So, oh, my screen just went off. I was just about to read the next question. I was going to say, what inspires you? Like, what do you do? Because we all have our things that we do, but then we have to stop and kind of like get away from it for a time to like refresh or recharge. What do you do kind of in your off time that reinvigorates you to get back into coding? If you have to take a break, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you just love it that much.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I do really love coding. I'm very blessed, and I thank God that I do have the enjoyment that I do, even when it's hard, even when there are challenges. I actually find difficulties and challenges like they're their own kind of reward to solve. It's kind of like the harder a challenge is, the more I want to solve it, because well, it's like it's that much trickier of a challenge, and then it tends to feel that much better when I solve it. So I'm very blessed to that kind of balance is there. But I do think it's important to live a balanced life. So outside of coding, I do find physical exercise. I do really enjoy that. That is something that I need. I think it really helps me physically and mentally, and other ways too. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think. Like, as far as that's that. I mean, if I enjoy playing video games for sure. Like I find, not just for the sake of hunting for, um, or not for just for playing for getting inspired, but I enjoy playing games. I also, that being said, I kind of have I have a very short attention span for most video games. Like most of the time, I just will not play them for very long, because I just usually get bored pretty easily with them. On the flip side, if I'm creating something, then I tend to be a lot more engaged for that um for a longer time. But yeah, I mean, then outside of that, like spending time with friends and family, a girlfriend,
Hmm.
time with God is extremely important. Um, so yeah, I guess just trying to have balance in life.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I hear you again too with the coding thing. Like I haven't done it full time in a long time, but I help out my kid's school does an auction every year, a live auction thing, and I coded a database interface for them. So it's just a web page that interfaces with a database to track all the items that are in the auction and all the bidders and who bid on what and how much they bid and all this sort of stuff. And sometimes my wife's like, "Can you add this feature?" And I'll sit down at my computer and I'm just like going and I'm like, "Oh, I broke something, or I need to figure this out, or I need to," and it's like compare it with like Dark Souls almost. It's like you're like, as it's hard, it's frustrating, but then when you finally do it, when you finally find that thing and make it work, and you're like, yes, and then you look at the clock and it's like 4 a.m. and you're like, oh.
You get absorbed by it, and that's cool.
Yeah.
So you do this full time then, Steve, huh?
I was doing it as I was doing it as I would say as my main thing for a time. Right now I'm looking for something full time. Partly being like I found that I'm very extroverted and I prefer to work with people, and I do have an artist that I work with, but he's not in the country. He's out of the country in Portugal. Um, so yeah, so that's part of the reason why. Right now I am searching for a full-time job, but there was a time where I was working on it as my main gig.
Very
Interesting.
cool.
So you don't have a team; it's just you and the artist, then.
Primarily, I have worked with. There are other contractors I've worked with as well. So, and I have gotten some coding help from some other people, which I'm grateful for. But primarily, yeah, me and the artist I contract with.
Yeah.
There's another question that came to mind. I'm sorry, I just got a couple of more, and I don't know how much time we have left. But
We got a few minutes.
you know, obviously AI is one of the biggest things out there now. Do you use AI for coding, or is that not a good idea?
Yeah, AI is a tricky one. That's a really tricky one. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I think about AI. I'm still not sure, but right now, I don't use a I don't use like ChatGPT for coding at this point in time. Um, like I use Microsoft Visual Studio, and it has. I mean, it says it's AI, but I'm not sure if it's a different kind of AI. It might just be entirely. It says it's local, so it actually might just be entirely based off what I'm coding. It's not clear, but it'll do some small things like it'll give a suggestion for like a single line of code, things like that. It'll do that, but beyond that, I'm still trying to figure out what I think about AI. I mean, you can Google something, and sometimes the first result, like it'll give you like an AI summary, but I don't do vibe coding as far as like you do a search or like you have it like create a bunch of code for you. I don't do that, and one reason is I really want to know what my code is, how it works, what it's doing. And I've heard stories about like people using AI for coding, and then it kind of creates. It seems to be harder to work with. At least one I can think of, but that's where I'm at for now.
Yeah, AI coding is definitely interesting. I don't think it's at the point yet where somebody with no coding knowledge can make something what would I say, finished. You know what I mean? Like I've dove in and I've said, "Hey, Google, create this thing for me." And then you have to know when it breaks, you have to be able to tell it like that didn't work. It did this. Can you fix it? Like maybe look at this function. Like it needs help a little bit sometimes. I've seen where I'll tell it something and I say like, you need to fix this. And it goes and it does something completely out in left field. And I'm like, what? Why did you do that? That's not, that didn't make any sense. But yeah, it's coming up.
With one problem I see too with using AI for coding, at least I'm not super knowledgeable on coding. Like, I'll be the first to tell you that like when it comes to coding, I have no clue what you're talking about. Like I know very little. I feel like if you're telling AI to do code for something and something goes wrong, you have to use the AI to fix it because the AI wrote the code. Unless that's something that I just don't know about, because it feels like it's just a perpetual cycle of having to use the AI
Yeah.
to write and fix code.
Well, you can see the code, and because I have a little bit of a background in it, so I tell it to write code, and then I can look at the code it wrote, and if something's not working, I have a sense of like, oh, okay, that's going to be in this function here, and I can look over it and kind of see if I can make sense of it. It just saves you so much of the time doing this. It's like it kind of speeds that process up, but I haven't used it for anything that I've sent out to other people. I've created a few little things that I've played with myself or shown my kids, but it's an interesting field to consider and to look at, and the repercussions of it and that sort of thing, because it is a big topic these days. One thing, no, not Aki, sorry, Romans submitted a question actually over on the Reach Discord, and he wanted to know when are there going to be skins in the game, and when can we get a Reach skin?
So, given the fact that the scope of this project is remarkably larger than what I already thought it was, there probably will not be skins. I mean, it's like a part of me almost just wants to just take this project and just kind of like, just real quick, like, okay, this works great, shove it up, move on to the next one,
Yeah.
just because it's already been so much. But then the other side, and the side that's winning so far is like, no, I think I should take, X amount of time, which, still figuring out what X is.
Yeah.
And then it didn't, give what's going to be helpful for it. I probably am not going to do skins because at this point, like almost anything that's like increasing scope kind of has me just like,
Yeah.
oh no, I wonder how much longer it's going to make this thing.
That leads into my next question. Actually, it's very funny that that's where you went, because I did have this next one, and then we'll jump into a question from our chat. But I typed out, as you keep like thinking up new features, or people keep suggesting features, or as you come up with ideas, how do you decide, okay, that's going to make it into this game, or maybe that'll be a DLC later, or maybe I should just put that on hold and put it in the sequel or something like that? When do you just push it out the door, like you said?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I would say leverage is one thing that I kind of factor into that. It's kind of like leverage plus plus like kind of lower hanging fruit. So the idea being like, what are the features that are going to give the largest impact, but also take the least amount of time, excuse me, and or are increasing scope by the least amount. Because where those things converge is where I'm going to be getting the best value for the time being put into it. So
Yeah.
I think that actually really kind of summarizes how I process through some of those things. I would say almost everything outside of that basically is in a, we'll see, like mentally I think I have it organized out a little bit differently than this, but it's kind of in a we'll see.
Right.
It could be a sequel, it could be a DLC, it could be maybe some of the stuff would even be in probably not a totally different game, but possibly. I'm trying to operate on a principle of learning as you go instead of planning everything out in advance. But I do think that first gate of, all right, is this something that I want to incorporate in this one? Yes, that's a gate that I'm. It's a really interesting one, and it keeps kind of like the gate on its hinges, like the whole gate just kind of keeps rotating, moving up, down. If you want to use a visual, a little bit as time goes on, but yeah.
Yeah. A warrior or nytxsaber? I know nytxsaber, you had chat open there. Seth G. Stewart asked a question. I don't know if you want to read that out. It was about procedural generation.
Yeah, I got it. He said, you use procedural generation in your game. Explain what it is and why it is important in a game like yours to any listeners that might not know.
Oh, that's a fun question. So, procedural generation, in the case of Robot with a Ram Cannon, that means it is generating something like each time that the level loads. So, in this case, the levels are procedurally generated. That means I have written an algorithm that generates how the level is laid out each time a level is loaded up. So, like where there is a floor tile versus where there is a wall tile, and where the hazards go. And then even like some of the decals, like there's decals on like the floors, like on the desert one, there's like some sandy swoops. In the red zone, there's like these large, like dark gray concrete blocks that are like flat. You can walk on them. And then in the let's see, the metal base zone, I think the floor decals for that one are like these blue beams that kind of get put in different spots. So that's what procedural generation is. It means generating, like it's generating something, and in Robot with a Ram Cannon, that's where it's at. So why that's important? Honestly, it might not be as important as I thought it was. So I went into it with that mindset because it seemed, at least my perception, was that a lot of roguelite games, which this game is planned to be a roguelite, that they use procedural generation for the levels to kind of keep things fresh. At the same time, I also have gotten some feedback that it might actually be wiser to handcraft levels, but then pick between them at random. So I am a little bit split between which of those two to do right now. Again, largely because of scope. I mean, I can say that procedural generation, like, that's probably been one of the hardest programming challenges in game development I've done so far. I mean, it's a multi-layered system. Like, there's one layer, and part of this was like I did follow a tutorial and learned some basics. Then I kind of did my own. Then I kind of kept layering on it. Like one layer goes through, puts the floors down, then another one. Once the floor is done, then it puts the outside walls around it. Then another one is like creating, not necessarily in this order, the inner walls. They're basically kind of following their own unit that kind of just goes in certain random directions with a certain random chance of if it deviates in its direction and then fills it in. It still doesn't work the way I want it to work. Like, if you've played the game, you'll see that like the inner walls, they tend to bunch up in this really ugly looking formation that does not look good. And I know it doesn't look good, and I see that, I'm just like, ugh. So is it important? Maybe not as much as I thought. So we'll see if it stays procedurally generated or I switch to handcrafted levels.
Yeah, randomly picking the handcrafted levels is something that like Risk of Rain 2 does, right? Where it's like you play a level and you're like, okay, I've seen this level before. I know the layout, but things within the level are randomly placed. So loot boxes or things like that, or maybe explosive barrels and things could be randomly placed so that there is some difference, but also some familiarity for the user.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting. That makes sense. I haven't played enough of that game to know that, but that makes sense.
See, I kind of
go
like
ahead, Warrior.
I kind of liked it because of the fact that it was replayable. It was different every time that you played the level, and so yeah, you got frustrated sometimes when that little thing got stuck and now the robots come after you and you can't do anything. But again, that's just a bug. But I think just kind of talking about a real game out in the uh, I guess universe of games, Peak does that, right? They generally create a new thing daily, I guess, of mountains and all the stuff that goes around that. And I think that keeps people interested because it's different every time that you play.
Yeah. Minecraft is also procedurally generated, and different things too. Yeah, it's for some people though, and it depends on. I guess it depends on your audience too, right? Do you want people who really like a challenge of it being different every time, or for some games it's important to be able to learn and go as you go, learn and memorize patterns and things like that. And if there's not a pattern to learn per se, it can be harder to have that learning loop, right? The play, fail, learn, repeat kind of thing, and grow. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider, something to think about, right? For all of us.
Yeah.
We could do a Bible study
Well,
on that too, probably.
we're also going to have Steve on the blessing boat here
Nice.
in December here. So I don't know if he wants to do it himself or if we're going to find somebody. We're looking to find somebody to play it and then interview him, kind of like what you're doing here. But then give him kind of a test market, if you will, to see what other people, thought. Because I remember when we saw that video, I was next to Christian Ninja and some other people, and we really liked that ram part, right? We were just like, "Oh, this is cool,"
Everybody
He didn't
was
see
like,
that because he
"Whoa!"
wasn't there. Yeah, exactly. It was
It's
so
really-
unexpected.
It's really funny what my girlfriend's reaction to the video was, because we're sitting there watching all these trailers, and she's like, "Oh, I like that one. Oh, that looks fun. Oh, this looks fun." And then the trailer for Robot came up, and it finishes. She looks at me so fast. She goes, "If that's not a mobile game by the time we leave today, I'm gonna be so upset. 'Cause I want to play that on the drive home."
That's hilarious.
Well, I'm very sorry to disappoint her. No, thank all of you. I'm really relieved to hear that. Thank you, and thank God. Like it's been a long journey, and for a while, like it's especially the art, like figuring out an art paradigm has been a really big challenge, and it's really important. It's really important. I'm very grateful that I've really had some very skilled artists to work with. But anyway, all I have to say, thank you, and to God be the glory.
Yeah. It was really cool to see, even for a lot of the trailers that we saw, there was almost that like iPhone reaction thing, like where the crowd goes like, and like they're like, "Oh, that's so cool." Yeah, it was really neat to see.
Warrior, do you guys normally do your blessing boats is it on Saturdays? That's always the thing?
Yeah, right now it is. We might change it up here next year, but right now that's what it is. Yeah,
Okay.
second Saturday of every month.
if you do one that goes into the evening, let me know, because
Yeah.
my Saturday is like the one day that I'm guaranteed to be at work, and I'm there literally from 11 to 6.
Yep.
So I'm not never able to be part of it. And it's always bumming. It's always a
Yeah.
bummer that I can't be part of it.
Yeah, we've talked about that already. I mean, at one point, and this was years ago, I did have a 12-hour stream. It almost killed me because I was doing all the monitoring. So if we have more volunteers to do, chats and, do that type of stuff, we definitely will do it. And I'm talking with Romans, the other Romans, who is now a doctor of ministry. We're partnering together. And so we're going to work on something that will help everybody be able to be part of Blessing Mode if possible. Because I got a lot of people that, are saying the same thing. Hey, can you go run later? Because I'm out in, Australia or New Zealand or Japan or China or whatever. So we definitely are thinking of that. But I appreciate you telling me.
It'd be cool to do.
Like I said, I'd love to be part of it.
It'd be cool to do a kind of like 10 people or more playing Robot with a Ram Cannon at the same time.
Yeah.
All on like a grid, and then as they fail out, they like their screen goes red and it turns off or whatever. It's like last person standing kind of a thing. That could be kind of neat to
That
do a
would be
stream.
fun.
Yeah.
Like just like a that's actually, it's really funny that you bring that up, Born Again, because that kind of brings me into one of my little bits of feedback that I had for Steve. I would love to see like a horde mode, almost.
Funny you mentioned.
As much as like people like say, yeah, I just want to see this, this, and this. I feel like that game has such potential to have such a good horde mode, where you have like just like a wave of enemies, and you have like an in between to like to do like upgrades or something, or like you can rearrange the map how you need to with the cannon by moving boxes and explosives in certain positions. I just feel like that's like such a big window that I feel like you've had to have seen it, because it looked painfully obvious to me, but that's just me.
Sorry,
actually-
guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt. But my wife needs something, so I got to disconnect from here. But I appreciate you guys having me here again. It was good to
Yeah.
see you again,
Thanks,
Steve.
Warrior.
We'll see you later.
Good to see you again.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Have a good night.
Hey, you too.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. That's actually something that at this point, it's all subject to change, of course, but I am planning to have like maybe like, so in each zone, I'm planning to do like 3 levels. So, 3 and 3, 9 total levels, for a run. But I'm planning to make it so that maybe on like 1 out of the 3 levels, or 2, or some variant thereof, there will be some sort of like a beacon or some sort of interactable that if you choose to interact with it, because roguelites tend to have a choice aspect for basically, if you're feeling up for a challenge, if you choose to interact with it, then basically that's kind of what happens. I'm thinking of, if you do that, then kind of like the intensity gets cranked up, where like the lights go out, and then instead you just have like like red emergency lights, and then like alarms go off. Like somehow, some way, the controlling AI base, because a part of the story, at least for now, is that in a robotics production facility, the controlling AI decided humans were inefficient, so it booted them out, and then it weaponized the robots. So for whatever the reason, the AI then like it really doesn't like that. So then it just starts like it will just keep sending an ongoing swarm at you, and you have to defend that position, or rather just stay alive. And if you wish, stay in the area for some amount of time, maybe like 30 seconds or a minute. Then some power up will drop, or some pickup, or something that you want will drop, and then you grab that and then get out of there before you wind up getting obliterated. So that's funny you mentioned that. But I definitely appreciate that feedback. I think that'd be cool too, if there was periods in between where you could rearrange things before the next wave. So yeah, appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, happy to give it, man. I want nothing more than to see this game just like explode across the internet.
That would be amazing.
Everybody wishlist it. Get on Steam. Add it to your wish list, right?
If you haven't
That helps.
wishlisted it already, you are missing out big time, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, we'll put the link, the Steam link and the itch.io link. It's itch.io, right, where the demo is? Yeah.
Yep.
We'll put the link there for the demo, and get the word out there for it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you stopping by to chat with us about your game. And if you want to hang out with us for a couple more minutes, we did have one other news item. Just we wanted to go over quickly and get your opinion maybe on that too. Is we talked about it when it first came up months and months ago, actually, with Nintendo suing or taking legal action against companies that are using like a monster capturing or like monster picking, casting, throwing, summoning mechanic. So they went against Pal World. They said, you're using our, like, we have this thing where you summon a monster and you tell it to fight something. And the internet all collectively said, oh, what about Final Fantasy? But Nintendo ignored that. But it seems like it's not going their way. It seems like the courts are not being supportive of Nintendo, and I was curious if you guys had heard anything else that I hadn't, or had some opinions you wanted to share on that topic.
Yeah, that's. Oh,
Yeah.
do you want to go?
No, you can go.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. That's a real interesting one. I guess what I'll say is it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I do think that I think there could be implications for indie developers, or just developers, and not just indies, just developers in general. Depending on what kind of goes on with that. So yeah, I haven't been following super close with it. I do kind of see the main flashes every now and again, but yeah, I think whatever happens with this probably will be setting precedents for a while.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people kind of expected Nintendo as the big bully, I guess, to come in and say that we want this, and they thought the courts would just say, okay, yeah, sure, here, Nintendo, you have millions of dollars and lots of lawyers, and we'll give it to you. But no, I guess their request to have a patent for a monster capturing and summoning system, which is very generic, right, was denied. And so I don't know if they'll go back to the drawing board or if they're gonna just drop the idea and forget about it. It will be interesting to see how they choose to go forward.
Yeah, I think the big issue I see with them trying to say, "Hey, we own this," especially when it's not so much a product but more an action, I guess is how you could put it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember, there was a lawsuit a handful of years back, with within the music industry about somebody saying, "Hey, you stole my melody for this song to make your song." And one of the people that they used to give a testimony and talk about it was Ed Sheeran, and he made a point of, well, if you think about it, everybody steals everybody's songs because I can write these 40 songs with these 3 notes in this same order, and no one's done anything about those and considered those lawsuits. So if you can write 40 songs with 3 notes in the exact same order, why are we penalizing one person for doing something that people have been doing for decades? I feel like it fits into that situation, kind of, because you're using one technique in a game that, if you really think about it, doesn't really vary far from, like, at the core basis of the task that they're trying to copyright is capturing or collecting something. Well, what's that going to do for, like, are they going to go after, like, Lara Croft games next? Or are they going to go after Assassin's Creed games next?
Well, just imagine if in the 80s they said, we created Tetris, now there's no more other puzzle games allowed. No columns,
Right.
no Bejeweled, no what, all these different games that came out. We never would have got Puzzle Quest, which was such a cool game. It seems silly to be like, oh, we're gonna almost patent a genre. How do you patent a genre of games?
Right. It'd be like saying it'd be like the Hardy Boys going after Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Like
And Nancy Drew.
It's like, really, it's you guys, just because you guys are doing the same industry at drastically different spots in time does not mean you need to go cutthroat and take away everything from everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say, Pal World kind of it's a little bit like, look at us over here. I'm throwing a Pokeball and I'm catching a Pokemon that looks a lot like a Pokemon. They didn't do themselves any favors there, but
no, they didn't. But which is why I can kind of see the case.
Yeah. Captain Gray. Was that No, Captain. We got a lot of captains in chat recently. Scooby Doo, Hardy Boys. That's a collab I'd pay to see. They said. Yeah. Well, very cool. I think we've kind of run. We're hitting towards our 1 hour mark, which we try to stick to. And unless anybody has any final thoughts on that story, then usually we jump into where can we find you on the web and what have you been up to recently that you want to tell us about? And we'll let Steve go first.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as far as finding on the web, I guess probably a good portal at this point is the Robot Without a Ram Cannon Steam page. You can, as you said, you can see details about the game and you can wishlist it there. I do have a Discord you can join that's linked on there if you're interested. Yeah, that's really probably the main way. As far as what I'm up to right now, yeah, right now, looking for that, looking for a job in the meantime, and also I'm enjoying not being super tired like I was because I got sick I think twice in 2 different ways. One wasn't really being sick, just super sleepy. So I'm enjoying kind of getting back into the flow of life and getting back into the gym and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah.
Well, if anyone's listening and wants to hire you, what do you look? Are you looking for coding work? Just any kind of general coding work, or do you have a specific field you're looking for?
C# work, Unity development work. Those are ideal. Ideally, it would be something in Ohio. That's ideal, but I am open to other opportunities, other options as well.
Yeah. Well, just in case, God willing, someone happens across this and stumbles across our episode. How about yourself, nytxsaber? Anything you want to point people towards?
Yeah. So for the entire month of November, since I got back from Reach, I have been working on doing some. I've been trying to do streaming. I've been trying to do a stream every night of the week for the entire month of November, and I'm going to drag it on a little bit just because we haven't quite reached our goal.
Mm-hmm.
I am raising money for a foundation called Brave Men Talk. They are an organization that focuses towards providing resources for men's mental health awareness and suicide prevention. They are currently at $107,000 raised of their $250,000 goal. I am trying to raise $1,500 for them to try to get that donated. It's a topic that I'm super passionate about just because I can very understand what people like that go through. I've been in that spot and I don't like it, and I don't want other people to be in that spot, so I want to help provide resources for people. And just recently, I think it was actually last year, an Army veteran walked almost 3,200 miles from LA to New York City barefoot. It took him from February to November to do it.
Wow.
And he raised almost $100,000 just by himself doing that.
That's awesome.
So I really am trying to push that and just push the organization and try to talk and just be kind of like a spotlight and just like a place where people can come and ask questions and try to figure things out. And I know a lot of people are super hesitant to donate to just sort of random named foundations just because a lot of charities have been found to work with groups that might not align with our agreements or have been scams. But I have done so much research into this group, and they are backed by so many very reputable companies and groups that I couldn't not try to raise money for these people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that is my big thing. For finding me online, you can find me at Twitch at twitch.tv/nytxsaber. I am working on getting my short form content up and going again, so I will be posting social links on Twitch. There will be a command !social at some point. But we're talking TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. I want to get a lot more stuff out there and really dig my feet into getting this stuff done and promoting not only just my content to be a spot for people to come and have potentially just a little bit of shine in a dark day and just hear about the Lord and understand him a little bit better, just try to spread his word and his love. But yeah, so that's where you guys can find me.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll put send me over the links for your Twitch and for that organization that you're raising money for. We'll put that in the notes as well, the show notes, a link to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And for us, we're doing this. We're doing our streams. We're trying to register as a charity, and so we got a coffee campaign going on for that. But if you're here, you've probably already heard that. So yeah, go check out Steve's stuff on Steam. Like I said in the show notes, and nytxsaber's Twitch and his socials and the organization that he's raising money for there. And you can find that all in the show notes. And this will be on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon Music.
Oh, you can also I do also have a presence at stevefloro.com.
Oh, cool, good. Yeah, we'll send that over to me too, in the Discord there, and I'll include that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for watching and chatting there in chat. And that'll do it for episode 7 of Saved Games. Have a great night.
Hey, have a good night. Thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure to have you, Steve.